Live this afternoon from Newton, Iowa, on the Iowa Speedway, the Rose Realistic Open Wheel Simulation Experience DW12 Series Season 1 on Checkered Flag Interactive rolls into round number 5. Back on the ovals this afternoon from the Iowa Speedway for the American Heartland 185. Practice session already coming down to a close. Myself, Evan Pasoko, alongside with Steve Bonesteel in the booth this afternoon. And Steve, we're back after 2 back-to-back American road courses. We hit the Iowa Speedway, a 0.88-mile oval track under the lights tonight that is sure to bring excitement. Again, after 2 weeks of road racing, I want to remind everybody how the oval qualifying goes. That happened previously in an open session earlier. It was 2 laps of closed qualifying individual car runs, and the average time of those 2 lap times combined would determine where everybody's going to line up for this field. And now that practice has come to a close and we get set for what's going to be 210 laps at 185 miles this afternoon, going to run you down through the starting grid. On pole position this afternoon, how about the number 10 car of Randy Crosno? He'll sit up on top of the board right now. Miguel Martinez, the number 17 car, will sit in second. Brandon Trost is going to be third. Ryan Littlemore in fourth, coming off of a few weeks where he did not start. Alex Simpson, the road ringer, who has gone 3 for 3 perfect so far on the road side of things, looking to continue his point streak alive as he starts from P5. That's the inside of row 3. Alongside him, you got Eric Davis in 6th position. Cam Stark going to start in 7th. Michael Thompson at 8th. 9th, Daniel Benefield and Brendan Lichtenberg will round out the top 10. Tony Helmeten right now in 11th position. 12th is going to be Jamie Rushworth. Barry Rowland back in 13th. 14th, Ellis Stevens. Laura Bond in 15th position. 16th to Rob Uglidix. 17th position to George Nojaks. And then you got Dennis Garise at 18th. 19th to Dave Jinks. Carl Burke in 20th. And Andrew Woodhouse in 21st position as the field now paces down the back straightaway. Behind the pace car, going to have 2 pace laps, I do believe, before we get this one kicked off. But although it is 210 laps and 185 miles, not a lot of time for guys at the back of the pack to kind of sit around and wait. We know that these oval races, especially Iowa, you talked about, it's a rough surface, it's a small track as well. Things can get ugly real quick if you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
Yeah, Evan, starts here especially are going to be very interesting for these drivers down on track. There's plenty of oval racing room on this track. You can go 3, 4, even 5 wide at times if you've really got the balls to do so. Is that smart? Maybe not. Probably not. However, it's something you can do here at Iowa. It's one of the larger short track ovals on the simulation, so that's going to make things very interesting, but those bumpy corners is going to make it hard to maintain those middle lines throughout the race.
We got to be looking at a lot of passing later in these stints as well. Cars going 2 wide. Somebody try to make it 3 wide to capitalize on that. And again, we preach patience when you go to a road course. You go to an oval track like this, and at an oval, you're racing the other guys as well as the track. As opposed to a road course where you can kind of get in your own zone for the most part. This one, traffic, the draft, and of course, the bumps are all going to play a factor into this one. Glad to have you with us on this Sunday afternoon on Checkered Flag Interactive as this one gets set to go. Pace car is down and away. Randy Crosno leads us out of 4 at the American Heartland. 185 from the Iowa Speedway is green.
So far, things looking pretty clean through this first corner here. Brandon Trost all the way up on that back wing of the number 10. Randy Crosno trying to lead the first lap here. Lap 1 out of 210 will be complete. Randy gets the first lap.
And already a challenge for the top spot. Take a look to the bottom as Brandon Trost can't hang on to it. They'll slide back at a second off a quarter of number 2. Same thing happened for third. Alex Simpson, the number 14 car, who's already picked up 1 spot, tried to go to the inside on the 17. Miguel Martinez did not work and nearly just opened up the door for Ryan Littlemore to try to make a move on him. They stay single file for the time being. But again, the way that draft works, you try to make a move, it won't work. You'll slide back and you'll catch right back up to him. So the key thing you're going to have to see here, you look at our top 3 all over each other, is timing when you're going to be able to try to make these passes. And now Martinez goes to the inside on Brandon Trost. Had to make a little bit of an awkward entry into that corner, had to check up a little bit, and the 66 will maintain P2.
And you see they're coming off the corner, that front end of that number 66. He's going to get really tight coming off that corner. That is due to the way the front wing and whatnot, the draft works. The front end loses all the weight to it, loses the downforce, and up the track you go. Right there, he's going to dive down all the way to the apron, get it up by the wall. The number 10, Randy Krosno, still leading here, but we've got a pack of about 6 cars up at the front.
It's still everybody well tightly packed together as we sit right now. The first 13 cars on track are within 3 seconds of each other. Side by side sees the 54 of Barry Rowland. He's making a move on Tony Helmut in the 55 car. Up there on the high side, going to lose 2 spots in that exchange, and now has another challenge down on the inside from the 12 of Brendan Lichtenberg, who's going to be our in-race reporter this afternoon. Lichtenberg started 10th position. He's going to pick that spot back up after dropping back in those first opening laps as he gets back around that 55 of Tony Helbiden, and now yet again another challenge, Michael Thompson to the inside. So Tony stuck up there on the outside lane, can't do anything about it, and has lost about 4 spots.
Just looking up, again, up towards the front there. These guys all just racing within feet of each other, Evan. For the majority of the beginning of the run, the tires are going to be fresh. You're going to be able to get it down to the bottom. But here in these Indy cars, you don't have to let off all that much. And while that attests to some really awesome racing and some awesome driving from the drivers down on the track, what it's going to cause is those right front tires, they're going to get heated up, and eventually that grip that you had at the beginning of the race is going to be gone, and you're going to have to really wheel it down there to keep it under on that bottom line.
These guys enjoying the perks right now of fresh tires in these first opening laps. Lap 11 now in the works for race leader Randy Krosno. That's where he started. That's where he sits right now. Brandon Trost still occupies that number 2 position. Was able to get that quite early on in this race as he started behind Krosno. Followed him up through at around the 17th of Miguel Martinez, who started second, who now finds himself in 3rd position. Krosno, however, at the top of the field right now, 0.4 of a second good to Brandon Trost, who sits second, and company. Trost not so lucky. He has that 17 all over the back end of him. Not too far back from there is Alex Simpson, and you see Miguel Martinez, who's come off of a couple of rough weeks on the road side of things, making that move to the inside. Get a challenge for P2, but the run off the corner so far for Brandon Trost has paid 2 dividends. He leads once again down the back, and now out of 4, using that outside lane, is able to defend his spot and maintain that 2nd position.
And the lap times that these guys are very impressive. These guys are running about 16.5 to about 16.7 seconds around this track, and that is pretty incredible. These guys, they try to avoid that lower lane in turns 1 and 2. However, a lot of times when you've got to make those passes, you got to get down there. You see them early on, they're running down there. Well, that's where they can avoid the bumps, but if they move up half a lane as the run goes on, they're going to be getting up into those bumps there on the white line down on that turn 1 and 2. So as this run goes on, expect these guys to definitely be moving around the track, looking for a place they can get that car. Not necessarily the fastest, but at least the most comfortable.
Trouble for a couple of cars early on. Dave Jinks had a spill back on lap number 7 for him. The number 76 machine got a little bit too hot and heavy coming out of 4, caught the fence, put it into the inside retaining wall. He is now taking a tow down to pit road and sits down there trying to get service done to his machine, as there are no quick fixes available in this league. So that currently puts him 8 laps down. As well, the Rob Uglinix machine is now 4 laps down. That's where he sits at the moment after having a little bit of a rocky start to his race. His car still in pristine condition. Well, we're not going to be not going to have the ability to get waiver rounds through this race, so would really have to hope that he can get some strategy going if he wants to be able to get back to the lead lap, because other than that, 4 laps down is quite a hole to take yourself out of. Still early on, but never want to start on the outside and have to try to climb your way back up. Jinx still down pit road. His night could very well be over. As I take a look, he's out from that machine, no longer behind the wheel. So Dave Jinx, after early trouble in this race, only 7 laps in, that arrow push got him. And the 76 machine, after starting back in 19th position, we knew that he was going to try to get through this field. And Stevie's now officially taking it behind the wall. Dave Jinx is done.
As we hop on board right now, the number 69 of Daniel Benefield. Just take a look at the suspension move here as he goes around this track. We took a look, a very similar look, last week when we were racing at Sebring, and you saw something very similar there as well. Evan. That suspension was tweaking all over around the track, and pretty much the same thing there. You see that big bump we were talking about there in 1 and 2, and then going down through 3 and 4, it doesn't look nearly as bad until you get about on the exit, and then you find yourself getting into a lot of bumps there on the front straightaway.
And everybody's still trying to fan out from each other as much as they can in cars that punch such big of a hole in the air that allows the draft to be such an important role, especially in these oval races. We still sit with 19 out of the 21 cars that started this race on the lead lap, and Randy Krosno up at the front of the field is setting sail in that clean air right now. Talked about a little bit ago that it was 0.4 of a second, now about 7 to 8 tenths. Good over Brandon Trost. And again, Trost not necessarily in smooth sailing because of the fact that he has Miguel Martinez all over him. The 17 has made a couple of jabs trying to get around that 66, and now caution has been thrown from race control. Possibly an incident on track. Don't see somebody around at the moment, but we do have a yellow coming from the tower.
It looks like Brandon Lichtenberg getting himself in trouble there into the outside wall. And down and around he goes through the inside grass, and he gets that inside wall. He's going to end up taking a tow there, Evan. And our in-race reporter, the number 12 from Broken Arrow, and that Honda, I guess it's really not really a Honda, but hey, it counts either way, but he's down on pit road.
He caught the fence. That's pretty much exactly what we saw happen to Dave Jinks, and we're not going to cue him up on the radio quite yet. We'll let him and his team try to get that machine repaired, and then hopefully be able to talk to him, assuming that he can stay in this race. The damage looks not as bad in comparison to what Dave Jinks had, but obviously you don't want any sort of aerodynamic damage. The fact that this league does not allow quick fixes, which is you come down, essentially you get a brand new race car. 0 of those. What you get is what you race with. So he's obviously going to sit down there, try to get some damage repair done to that machine, and it looks like he's out from behind the wheel, so his night may come to a premature close, and that would have been 2 for 2. That quarter number 4 caught somebody.
Just a reminder, as always, you are live here on Checkered Flag Interactive. Steve Bonesteel, Evan Pasoko up in the booth with the Rose DW12 IndyCar Series, the inaugural season here. Race number 5 of 19. Plenty of racing left this season here. Sunday afternoons, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11. Or what am I talking about, Evan? 11 Pacific and then 1 Central Time. A very interesting time slot here, making it very convenient for drivers all around the world to get into this series here. We've talked about it each and every week, and I guess we'll mention it again this week. The inaugural season here for the Rose DW12 series has been very impressive.
Yeah, for again an inaugural season of a league, a lot of people, they're wary to put money into it, or to be able to dedicate their time. I mean, we do have pro drivers in this series dedicate their time to something that has quote unquote not been proven. And for an inaugural season, we're rolling tonight is round 5 of 19. Nothing but good things to say out of the first 4 races. They got weekly cash payouts to the top 5. You got championship prizes as well. So much, and again, the drivers have to pay an entry fee, so you know that the people that are in here are going to be taking it seriously because essentially they have their own stake in this. Now, if you're a guy like, look at the top of the points. We have 2 drivers that have not finished outside of the top 5 all season long so far. That's going to be Alex Simpson and Jamie Rushworth. Simpson right now is third. Jamie Rushworth, however, not quite at the moment. So, unfortunately for him, that streak is going to come to a premature close possibly in this 5th race. But there's guys like that if you walk away with $30 for first, 20 for second, 15 for third, 10 for fourth, and 5 for fifth, week in, week out, making money off it if you know what you're doing. Randy Krosno still leads this field, currently working under what's going to be our first caution flag of this race. And although it was a decently length first stint of this race, still felt like it went by rather quickly already at lap number 29 in this 210 lap affair. Again, this racetrack at 0.88 miles in length is going to tally up to a total of 185 miles by the time we hit the distance tonight in the American Heartland. 185 from the Iowa Speedway. Under this yellow, I want to talk some quick track facts about this speedway that we're at tonight. The Iowa Speedway, located in Newton, Iowa, has a capacity crowd of 30,000 race fans can pack in here on any given race weekend. Opened back in 2006, so still a rather new facility. This track cost $70 million to make at that point, but the asphalt surface, 0.88 miles in length. It's an asphalt surface, 4 turns, banking, progressive, 12 degrees down on that yellow line, 14 up against the fence. You also got 10 degrees on that D-shaped front straightaway, 4 on the back. But the progressive banking is what has caused, and what we've seen is those guys up on the outside lane have been able to fend off attacks from people down on the bottom. Because of that, able to get that big run off the corner and defend that lead position. We've seen that a few times, so a lot of drivers using that progressive banking to their advantage.
And here the pace car lights are off. These guys will be single file here at Iowa Speedway. Lap 30 of 210. Plenty of racing left up on the boards here for today. These guys here with the single file restart, that's going to make things a little bit interesting and a little bit more controlled, I do believe, than it would be if they were double file here. But the pace car will be making the abrupt left-hand turn down on pit road. The number 10 is away, and we are green flag racing yet again at Iowa. Big time jump by the number 10.
He has set sail. The challenge going to be for second, Alex Simpson, who started 5th position, nearly got another one as he did on the initial start of the race. Tried to go for second out of 17. Miguel Martinez could not get the job done that time. Going to come back at him at a 4. You see the defensive line by the 17 car, running about 2 car lengths off of that outside line and forcing the 14 to try to take the high side. You see that's what Alex Simpson is doing right behind him. You have Ryan Littlemore trying to follow through as well. The 69 of Daniel Benefield as well. Look at the crossover. 2 crossovers off the corner. Benefield goes to the inside on Littlemore. Alex Simpson to the inside on Miguel Martinez. These guys really going at it for P2 and what's going to be P4. However, Martinez still able to defend off a quarter 2. He hangs on to second. However, Daniel Benefield is going to be able to get a spot from Ryan Littlemore as well as Cam Stark. Going to move up to 24 now, P5.
As we hop onto the back wing of that second place driver, Miguel Martinez there, taking a look at Alex Simpson, the road guy here for the IndyCar Series. These guys, they look at him every time they go to the road courses. They say, oh boy, he's probably got something for me. Well, right here, he's sitting 3rd at Iowa. Of course, it's early on, but Alex Simpson being very dominant at those road courses, getting the 3 wins at those road courses. So here at this oval, this is where these guys that might not be quite as good on those road courses need to be able to materialize the top 5 and hopefully even get a win.
Yeah, this series essentially has a 50-50 split. When we exit tonight's event, still 8 oval events, 6 road courses. Now, sounds a little bit off. We have had 3 out of our first 4 races be road. One of those additional oval races left is classified as a race. It's going to be the Indy 500 qualifying later in the season. So it is a 50-50 split race-wise, and it forces you, if you feel more confident on the ovals, to just try to get a top 5, try to get a top 10 on the road side of things, be able to just not lose a lot of points. Then if you feel more confident on the road side of things, possibly look at a guy like Alex Simpson, got a top 5 at our only oval event. He's won all 3 road courses so far this year at Lagos, Homestead, or rather Road America and Sebring. Homestead was the only oval that we've done so far. Got a top 5. If he can sit top 5, Steve, maybe not dominate these oval events, but if he can get solid finishes and then do work on those road events like we've seen him so far, it's going to be very hard for anybody to try to catch that 14. And he sits solid right now in 3rd. Martinez pulling away a little bit from him, and they're about separated by half a second. Actually, the top 4 got quite spread out. Daniel Benefield has gone up to 4th position. Shout out to that Martini entry who started back on the inside of row 5 in 9th position. He's up to 4th.
Yeah, Daniel Benefield, we took a ride on board with him earlier there. Looking very strong today, and he definitely needs a solid finish after having a couple of rough weeks here in the Rose DW12 series. And so he's sitting there, lap 42. And we just kind of take a look at how he's running. He's running very consistent. You see some of these guys, every single lap, they might run just slightly different through the corners, but right now, very relaxed feeling coming from that number 69. And now that he's up in the top 5, he's got a pretty good starting position as this race goes forward.
17 cars still on the lead line. Oh, we got trouble coming off the quarter. Caution, 2-3 cars are around. And we're going to slow him down. Eric Davis turned the wrong direction, and This one coming out of quarter two, he's stuck in the outside retaining wall. Caution will fly, and he was caught up in something that happened in front of him. Barry Rowland. Very strange incident here for the 54. Something happened, and this actually stems all the way back, Steve, to quarter number 4. So for the third time tonight, essentially, that outside wall out of 4 catches somebody. He overdrove the corner a little bit, got the right side of that machine into the outside retaining wall. And what happened when the 54 did so, obviously got suspension damage, lost a lot of speed. When he got back down to 1 and 2, because that right side suspension was torn up, thing just went right around on him. Couldn't control it. It spun out, and then you saw coming into the frame, Eric Davis absolutely nowhere to go. Gets into the left side of that machine, and that's going to be a 2-car incident as they come out of corner number 2. And then Davis attempted to get back going, opted to take a tow to pit road, and with neither of these guys having the ability to have a quick fix, I know this is going to end Eric Davis's night. He is out from the car. They have no front clip left on that machine. Barry Rowland is now into pit road as well, trying to get damage. Our leaders as well coming down pit road. Randy Crosno will lead us down for quick service. Again, they do all 4 tires and fuel at the same time. And with that 10 car having a number 1 pit stall challenge from the 17, but Crosno will still lead us out of pit road. There was one other machine that I was going to mention that has lost his lead lap status, and that is Andrew Woodhouse. That's the number 4 car. He now finds himself 3 laps down in P18. To take this opportunity under the caution flag condition to let you know what the current championship standings look like, rolling at around 4 of 19. That one from the Sebring International. That was 1 week ago on a back-to-back 43-lap events from Road America and Sebring Great American Road Courses. And it is Alex Simpson who leads the championship standings entering tonight. In 4 race starts, he has 3 wins and has not finished outside of the top 5 in 1 event so far. He leads with 191 points, 9 bonus points from all of those wins. Jamie Rushworth entering tonight as the second place driver in the championship standings. That number 3 car sits right now 9th on track. Him and Simpson, the only drivers to not finish outside of the top 5. So Rushworth needs to continue to move forward tonight if he wants to be able to defend that title. 3rd in the points is Brandon Trano. He's 58 points back entering this. Dennis Garis as well, a top 5 in points. He's 4th position, 87 off of the top spot. 96 back is Eric Davis. He sits 5th position. Gary Borkenhagen in 6th. 7th is Ellis Stevens. 8th is Barry Rowland. Andreas Werner, top running driver that has actually missed a start in 4 events. He's only started 3 of them. Still sits top 10 in points, 9th, 119 back, and then rounding out the top 10 is going to be Dave Jinks, 121 off. But I mean, still early on in the year, nearly a quarter of the way through once we get past this, so the season can really go by fast once you start knocking off a few of these races. Obviously, a lot of the drivers excited about the couple of weeks, actually, of Indy mid-season with the Indy Road and an Indy 500 qualifying and the 500 back-to-back weekends. But this season, although, again, it still feels like it's just getting going, we're starting to see the point situation develop, and after tonight, again, going to be past the quarter distance mark in this campaign.
And it's really exciting, too, because this is the inaugural season, and this has been a really successful start of the season, and I'm sure it's only going to get better as it goes on, Evan. So definitely we'll have to see what Ryan has planned here for the Rose DW12 series and what the Rose has planned up next. Maybe something else other than IndyCar, maybe not. But we're definitely excited to see where it goes. But before we look that far ahead, we've got plenty of racing left this season, as you said. While we are almost, well, actually, with this race, we're a quarter of the way through. There's just a plentiful amount of racing left, and these guys have been getting better each and every race. These guys, they might have started the season, they weren't quite comfortable with each other here, and now 5 races in, a lot of these guys have really built up a pretty good relationship.
And coming with the same thing of, racing with the same guys week in and week out, give me buddy off the racetrack, but as well we've seen a couple of drivers, nothing really, major going on so far as lights are off of the pace car. Restart going to be coming up this time to lap number 49 with Brandon Trost in control of this field now after that cycle of pit stops where he and Tony Halberton elected to not come down for service is the fact that rivalries can also come to fruition, and that's something we got to keep an eye on as well. Pace car down and away to the safety of pit road, and Trost off almost immediately. Green flag back in the air for the first time tonight via some pit strategy. Top two have switched up, so Trost leads this race. Tony Halberton sits second. That's where you find Randy Krosno, who's led so far, and that's a hornet's nest right now for P3. To the inside on him goes Miguel Martinez, and going to be able to get the job done is that 17. So move Martinez to a top three spot, finally getting around Randy Krosno, who has now slid to fourth.
This is where Alex Simpson now in that fifth position. He's got Cam Stark on his rear wing. He's got to be very careful, recognizing that he is up in the points right now, and he gets in this hornet's nest, and one little thing, one slight mistake, one touch of the side pod, and you're going to find yourself in trouble there as Miguel Martinez almost gets up under the wall there. He's going to dive underneath Randy Krosno, and he's going to have to let up out of it there, that big arrow push, and now he's got Cam Stark underneath.
15 cars still doing battle on the lead lap at the moment. A lot of bumper to bumper right now. Theoretically, don't have bumpers, no real fenders on these machines, but still quite a close battle. The top two have set sail. They are gone. Again, Trost and Hamilton did not come down pit road. They're 1.5 seconds to the good over the battle that pretty much has been for the lead all race long. Is now for third after Miguel Martinez was able to get that spot from Randy Krosno. He sits third, and now you see Alex Simpson applying the pressure, looking low, looking high, trying to find a way to possibly make a move on that number 10 machine. Still looking in 1 and 2. To the inside, he'll go, gets contacted. Alex Simpson turned and hard into the inside wall is the 14 of Alex Simpson. He's slowed down on the apron of the racetrack, and just like that, a perfect season so far. That is a huge hit to the 14 team. Caution is out. Somebody else is over. Andrew Woodhouse, who just got a lap back. He's up and over in corner 4.
As we pull up the replay there, just as I mentioned, he put himself right in the hornet's nest, and he was racing so hard for it there. Looking out of 1 and 2, he looks under Randy Krosno, just a slide pod, just like I said, and then there comes the inside retainer wall, Evan, and then both sides now of that number 14 all beat up.
And we talked about limiting mistakes at the track that is not your forte, and Simpson was in that hornet's nest, as you said, and tried to make a move, either pushed up a little bit or the car up on side of him, came down nonetheless. He's in the inside wall, and for all intents and purposes, that car is done for the night. That's not even what brought out the yellow. We were probably going to be anticipating a caution to be thrown from the tower, as they had done previously, but Andrew Woodhouse gets turned around, and he took a look at it there. That's going to be the number 4 car up on the high side, a machine on his inside. Again, we've talked about how quarter number 4 gets these machines so tight, and it happened to Rob Uglanix. The 20 just got tight, slid up the racetrack. He ends up driving away from it, and the car that has to pay the price is Andrew Woodhouse, who goes hard into the inside wall, and unsure if he got hit by another car. It looks like that's the Laura Bond machine, and she got through without making contact with him, but he kind of got hooked into the fence with the front end of that race car, something that happens in sim racing, and nothing can be perfect with the physics and all. Kind of got tossed up on his lid because of that. He couldn't bring it down to pit road, had to take a tow. That's going to cost the 4 car a lot of time, as well as the fact that his car essentially done because, again, no front clip left on that machine. Still sits in the car down on pit road, but pretty much every piece of carbon fiber on that car you could imagine is torn up in some way.
Well, now, Evan, with that being a chance here, we're going to head over to a quick commercial break. Do not go away. More racing here from Iowa Speedway after the break. Back live here at Iowa Speedway, the pace car lights are off. The two incidents that happened right there are currently under review by race control, so we will hear back shortly on if anything's going to happen with that. But the pace car lights are off, and Brandon Trost is up in the lead, and we will be back going racing here as the pace car veers down pit road. Some guys stacking up on the outside, but we are away.
The Helmetin kind of caught sleeping a little bit there up top. Small check up behind. Not going to cost the 55 anything because he'll maintain second position. Martinez still in third. First challenge going to be for P4. And contact is going to get turned hard. And Krosno hard into the outside wall. The 10 machine in a side-by-side battle.
Huge wreck.
Right off of the restart. The 24 just went to the inside and hooked him right around.
Oh boy, this is going to be one of those cautions where it's going to require quite a few replays to figure out exactly all what happened.
And then we had about 3-4 more cars wrecked trying to get around that post the initial incident after everybody was trying to avoid the machine that was turned around pretty much deeper in the corner, being Cam Stark, who had initially made contact in that incident. Dennis Garise and a Valvoline machine, or rather Dennis Garise is able to get through, but the Valvoline entry right there in the middle of Carl Burke gets turned up. He ends up upside down. Laura Bond involved in this one as well, and it's going to be about 5 cars total, but that's just a situation of somebody try to make a move, and you talked about it at the top of the broadcast, Steve, is you're going to have a chance to go for a hole. Do you go for it? And if you do, is that the smartest decision? That's to be determined. And Stark just goes to the inside on that one. And I mean, essentially, didn't really have, and the straightaway is not that long here, but went to the inside as soon as they come out of the corner, felt like he had the inside position, and either, he didn't go low enough and he feels the 10 cut down on him, or the 10 felt like he just didn't dive it into the corner fast enough. Nonetheless, they just kind of meet, and where those cars made contact was the right front of the 24 and the left rear of the 10 car, and it sent them both right around. And again, 5 cars total involved in this one. The biggest one, I guess, is the big one so far tonight. 5 cars total in 3 and 4 going to get torn up in that exchange. And like it happens so many times in racing, the car that started it all, the 24 car, drives out on track in P10 with essentially no damage, and there's 4 other cars now down on pit road torn up.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to eventually see what race control does about that one, because Cam Stark there in that number 24, he either is still on some type of probationary period, or either just getting off, I do believe, Evan, after being involved in a few incidents at Road America. So we'll have to get an update here under this next commercial break that's coming up in just a second, and see what and if anything's going to happen here after a big wreck at Iowa Speedway.
Carl Burke has taken that machine out of the race. He is done. Barry Rowland is now out of this race. His night is done. Laura Bond is on pit road trying to get damage repairs done to her number 32 machine. You got Randy Krosno, who's 2 laps down. He's no longer behind the wheel of his Dallara chassis number 10 machine, so he's essentially out of this race. Again, Burke is out. Uglinix is out there on track. He's 4 laps down. Other than that, Alex Simpson out of this race. Andrew Woodhouse out. Rowland, Davis, Lichtenberg, Jinx. A lot of cars nearly going on what's going to be now 12 out of 21 cars are only left in the lead lap, so almost half of our field tonight has had some sort of major problem, and we're just past a quarter distance mark in this race.
Really quick, we're going to step away from the screen and leave the caution period up on the screen for you guys. We're going to meet up with race control and see what's the call after that big wreck.
Back live, and you've been taking a look at the action. Green flag back in the air, and Brandon Trost continuing to lead this race. That now is going to be the next point that we look up to, going to be the halfway mark, and just about 35 laps or so from now is what these guys are going to be shooting for. And after what's pretty much been a string of yellow flags for these last few moments of the race, has really spread out this field now to only having 12 cars left on the lead lap. Challenges right now the 24 machine on the bottom. That's Cam Stark trying to make some sort of a move behind him, and following him through on these passes is that Martini entry of Daniel Benefield, who is now back to P10 after being a top 5 car earlier in the race, charging through. Needs to get back up front. Stark going to go to the inside on the 13 of Michael Thompson. That's going to be for 7. Had a lot going on right here for about 7th, 8th, 6th position, all these positions back here. Meanwhile, up for the top spot now, no challenge with Martinez, but a big battle for 3rd as give it to Ryan Littlemore, the 77 round helmet, and going to get that top 3 spot.
There under that little break, we met with race control, and they can't even quite sort out all of the incidents that happened there in that little string. And it looks like some of the drivers, it's just one of those things where everyone kind of made a mistake, and when it comes down to it, when it boils down to what really caused the incident, it's just people racing way too hard early on in the race.
Yeah, you look at it, and there's no quote-unquote safe way to really try to make a pass at this racetrack. But one of the things that the drivers have to talk about, and again, we really preached it going into road racing.
Martinez, sideways!
We just had a turn, little more, and contact, and there goes Miguel Martinez, and he keeps it off of the inside wall, but that's contact with the 77. Caution flag is out. And that Miguel Martinez entry, Steve, has had rough weeks out on the road courses, and now with trouble. And it's Jamie Rushworth who's in the fence. That's what brings out the yellow. The 3 cars hard on the outside wall. He was the one that tried to get around that spinning car and actually planted it in the fence, so the 3 as well torn up. Wow.
As we pull up the slow motion there, it looks like he just got clipped, actually. The number 17, Martinez, coming down, just barely got that right rear wheel. Other drivers trying to avoid that, driving it down in the grass. Well, I see Cam Stark down there. Another driver also had to go through the grass, so absolute chaos right now at Iowa Speedway.
Again, Martinez was looking so strong in this race, coming off of some rough weeks, and again, top 5 car, and it's a pretty similar incident to what we just saw just moments ago, and an opinionated call on what happens there between him and the 24, because the 77, I mean, this is almost, a mirrored identical incident. 77 goes to the bottom, and it looks like he just doesn't make that entry to the corner as soon as he should have. The 17 was running with about, in theory, 2.5 car lengths between him and the apron. Now, obviously, you don't want to run the yellow line, but the 77 machine obviously running higher than what Martinez would have anticipated him to do, and it's the car that, again, quote-unquote, sorts it all out. We don't know exactly what happened in that, but we can see and try to make a judgment from what we saw happen there. Essentially, the car that causes it drives on away, and it's Martinez and company who are the ones that end up in the fence and with damage.
Well, as we pull up the running order after 76 laps, there Brandon Trost, Tony Hellman in there, Ryan Littlemore, Dennis Garees, Ellis Stevens, Michael Thompson, Daniel Benefield there, George Najox 8th, and then Laura Bond 9th, and Cam Stark, after being involved in, I do believe, 3 different cautions now right in a row. He's sitting there outside that, or right inside that top 10 and 10th position.
Race control is currently having a discussion with the drivers, want to try to take a listen into this, and race control is letting the drivers know that you can yield a little bit. If it means avoiding an incident, let the guy go, come back at him, and try to get that position back later on. But again, still shy of the halfway point in this race. Race control letting the drivers know to calm things down, because the opening portions of this race, Steve, fantastic. Green flag racing, we saw a lot of side-by-side, and after we saw trouble for one of the fastest cars all year, Alex Simpson, who is not going to be able to go 5 for 5, top 5-wise this year after getting in an incident at a 2 where he tried to go to the inside, made contact, ended up in the fence. Ever since then, a string of yellow flags have taken out quite a few, and top runners, I might add, because now we have more cars that are off the lead lap that are on at the moment, actually 1 car away from that. Laura Bond still on the lead lap. She's out of pit road. She's still trying to get serviced under the 32 that got caught up in an incident about 2 yellows ago out of 4. But right now, only 11 cars out of 21 that started this are on the lead lap, and to make that even worse, only about 1 of those cars that is not on the lead lap is still on track. So quite a few people behind the wall and on the hook early from the Iowa Speedway. Not what they wanted, to say the least. However, this does open up the door. Take a look at a guy like Brandon Trost, who sits P1 right now. He is needing some points. Not currently in the top 10 position, but there's other drivers that can set to benefit greatly from this. If you take a look at the guy that sits second in points entering this, Jamie Rushworth. He could have been a driver that could have capitalized huge after Alex Simpson had trouble. He just got taken out in an incident that he was just trying to get out of the way from, got clipped, ended up at the fence. This could have been a huge night for that 3-car Steve to either close in or possibly even take the points lead. He then gets taken out, and you can even look at a guy like a Brandon Treno as well. Other guys back here, Dennis Garise, Eric Davis, drivers that can really make up points that they've lost in these first few races here now that these heavy hitters and the championship leaders have had incidents.
Yeah, we're just talking to some of the people here in the Twitch chat, and I had to mention that after this race, the point standings are going to be completely changed up at the front. At least Alex Simpson being involved in that one, some of the other front runners getting up into the wall, going around. I mean, you're going to have those drivers that might not have had the best couple of weeks here. If they can stay out of trouble here, we're only 80 laps into this race, and some of the big heavy hitters, I mean, Miguel Martinez is now at the tail end of this field pretty much, and he's got a long ways to go. Of course, there's plenty of laps to do so, but if this could be a big turning point for Brandon Trost up in front.
And it's about capitalizing on opportunity. You may not have anticipated that this could have been your shot to make up points early when those guys who led the points were up front. Now this could be a huge opportunity for you to gain some lost ground. Green flag now back in the air as Brandon Trost leads us back under the start-finish line and back at it once again. Second position still well in the hands of Tony Helmeten, who stayed out and is going to be able to get that after Martinez is now behind the wall. Dennis Garise up to third. Out of nowhere, the 16 machine, who sits fourth in the championship standings, could be one of those cars that we've talked about that could benefit huge if he's able to maintain this running position throughout this race. And he wants more. He's going to go to the inside on the 55 of Tony Helmeten, side by side for P2. And you see Tony Helmeten giving those guys a lot of room there, and that's going to move Garise up to a top 2 spot. And Benefield now trying to find a way around Helmeten as well. That's for third. No challenge. 55 doing a great job of letting those guys make that pass, avoiding any incident, and then he'll try to come back at them later and get that spot back. But good driving and smart driving on behalf of the 55 to not try to force that issue.
Just taking a look now, Miguel Martinez, he did not get any damage there on that machine from that spin he had there about 10 laps ago. He's trying to work his way back up through the field there. That number 17, though, is running into a lot of trouble there. Ryan Littlemore, also towards the tail end of the field. Now he's up in front of Miguel Martinez, trying to get it up back towards that top 5. However, he's got George Najox there right on wing and almost in trouble.
Najox going to yield high, and that's going to allow Ryan Littlemore to get through. Here comes Martinez. Can he kill 2 birds with 1 stone? Crossover, you see, throwing the defensive line by the 77 to Ryan Littlemore. Protected low. 17 tried to split the gap and hopped right back up to the outside line. Is that 77 to Ryan Littlemore. He's able to hang on to 16th. Miguel Martinez trying to get back up through this field to where he's been all race long after starting P2. Dropped back to third on the opening lap, and since then has kind of only gone back forward and has been a top 3 car essentially all night long. And he's not going to give up and can possibly try to put a move on Littlemore here for P6 in not too long. However, he has to keep in mind that if he's paying all his attention to the car in front of him, that could open up the opportunity for the 95 of George Najox to kind of catch Martinez sleeping and maybe even put a move on him. But all these cars right now, top 8, only separated by 3 seconds, which means a lot of them are all over each other, single file lines tucked up on each other. You see a battle for third right there. Cam Stark to the inside, and he'll get it from Dennis Garise. Overdrives it a little bit, has to check up, no problem there though, and he'll get that podium spot for the moment.
As we continue to watch the cluster of cars about halfway through the field that's still out there right now. That number 16, Dennis Garise, all over the rear wing of Cam Stark. Cam Stark moving up through the field pretty solid, even with a little bit of side pod damage there in that number 24. But Dennis Gariz hard charging towards the front. He definitely needs a good finish here at Iowa Speedway after having a pretty dismal couple of weeks on those road courses after this season got underway. But right now, these guys racing very hard for these positions, coming up towards halfway pretty quickly here, about 15 laps away.
Black flag going to be handed down from race control to the driver of the 20. That's going to be the Rob Uglinix machine. He has been black flagged after turning the number 4 of Andrew Woodhouse back on lap 50. So he has had to come down, serve his penalty, and now blends back up the racing surface down the back straightaway. So that's going to drop him to what's going to be 5 laps down in the moment in this race. But Brandon Trost, adios, he is gone. 2 seconds of good over what is still a melee for second on back, which sits right now in control of the 69 of Daniel Benefield right now. Cam Stark was just able to get third from Dennis Gariz. That's where he sits right now. And at 16 in Gariz, you got Martinez now up to 5th. Helmeten, Littlemore, no jocks. I mean, all of these guys still relatively close, that they're all within striking distance of each other.
And what's really interesting to see here is now that Brandon Trost is out in front by over 2 seconds, will we see these guys start to kind of pull him back in here once they get in a line, stop battling? But Miguel Martinez now up into the 5th position after being involved in that little incident there where he went around off turn 4. He's trying to get that car back up into the top 5. He's been successful to get to the top 5, and now he dives underneath Dennis Gariz there in turns 3 and 4. He's going to slide up just a little bit, blip the throttle there, and he's getting loose again, Evan.
These guys, they're pushing 198 miles an hour going into the corner. The track that is, again, much shorter than a mile in length at 0.88 miles per lap in this one. So, I mean, everything you do, the closing rate, it happens so quickly. Challenge back here, 3 wide all the way to the apron, goes the 95 of George No Jocks, and he gets both the 55 and the 77 in one swing. However, with that early entry going to be slow off, and the crossover beautifully executed on behalf of Ryan Littlemore. The 77 back through it. Oh,
whoa! Big wreck!
Huge overcorrection. Caution is out. Just got a little bit sideways, and as soon as he went to correct that thing, just went dead on into the outside wall, and he's stuck in the fence.
Holy cow, Evan! I don't think
so quickly too.
I have not seen a hit that hard in a long time here as we pull up the replay. Taking a look here, going into 3 and 4, Ryan Littlemore underneath the 95, and he dives, makes that pass, and just plants it into the wall. He doesn't move. However, up the track just a little bit, that's where the rest of the chaos happens.
In No Jocks turns the number 55 car. They both make contact on the front straightaway. You see the front end of the 95 elevated into the catch fencing area at the start-finish line. Both of those cars essentially go up and over. And again, another huge incident, which is going to take 3 more lead lap cars out of this race just like that. And we talked about how these drivers appeared that they were really trying to give each other a lot more room once we hit the second half of this race, and for the most part they were. Tony Helmeten right now, the 55, still sits on his roof right now on the front straightaway, was trying to drive it on the side to get it back on all 4 tires. He is now forced to take a tow to pit road, and this is going to cut us down to now only 8 cars on the lead lap, and the woes continue at Iowa. Might as well call this one the bull ring. We know, and we talked about, Steve, going into this, close quarters racing, bumpy racetrack, a lot of fast cars, but again, a lot of people in these incidents happening so quickly that many people don't even have an opportunity to try to avoid them.
Yeah, one thing I was going to mention before that happened, you see the cameras here that we have, the ones that are planted up on the wall, they struggle to keep up with these cars at the pace that they run. I mean, these things upwards of 200 miles an hour at time here, and the cameras just really have to be pretty quick to maintain the pace that these cars have. And I mean, just imagine if our cameras are having a hard time keeping up. You got to think what the thoughts are. You know, you see a car going around in front of you, you see smoke, you've got to think incredibly fast to figure out what you're going to do. And if you think too fast, you might even overcorrect. You might find yourself in trouble here. And just like that, there's another 3 cars that will not be making any more laps here at Iowa Speedway.
And you see all those machines that are still on pit road. However, there are no drivers in them right now. Possibly just stick it around to keep in the action from atop the pit box, but obviously dejected. Helmeton is out of this race. No Jux is out of this race. Ryan Littlemore is out of this race. Robbie Glynix remains the only car off the lead lap that is still on track, set to probably bump up the P9 here as he sits 5 laps down in the Pure Michigan Honda number 20 entry. Other than that, you got guys like Rushworth, Crosno, Burke, Simpson, Woodhouse, Roland, Davis, Lichtenberg, and Jinx all out of this thing, and those are all the heavy hitters. This could be our first surprise winner. Laura Bond is somebody that I want to make quick note of, who started this race 15th position and has been consistently a top 15 car all race long. Now going to be able to find herself up to P8 and possibly on route to a very good points night right now, as she has now entered the top 10 in the running order. And with all the chaos that has gone on, I want to remind everybody that everybody who's off the lead lap, they're still fast. I want to give you last week's results from Sebring International. If you weren't able to be with us on CFI, it was Alex Simpson who took home the win in that one and led the most laps at 26. Also had the fastest average lap time of 1:45.1. Second position went to Jamie Rushworth, who put down the fastest lap of the race, led 15 laps, and had the second fastest average lap, only 2/10 off of Alex Simpson. Brandon Trano would come home in third position, the only other driver to lead lap. He led 2 of them. Ryan Littlemore came home fourth. Andreas Werner with the P5. Dennis Garis in sixth. Eric Davis seventh. Gary Borkenhagen in eighth position. Robbie Glynix ninth. And George Nojox would round out the top 10 in that event that featured only 7 cars left on the lead lap after 43 laps out there in Florida. And this one seems like it could possibly maybe have even less, because we're down to 8 right now and just going to be coming to the halfway point once we get the green flag off of this restart.
One thing I would like to note on that back wing of Laura Bond, she does have that thing a little bit skewed off to the side due to some damage she collected earlier on. So here, these Indy cars very aero sensitive. I mean, you look at these things, you almost think they could take flight the way they're designed here, and of course they do not take flight, but if they did, I don't believe hers would be going straight for sure with that kind of skew there, a little bit of yaw to that wing. So we'll see here once we get the green flag, but the base car lights are off. Daniel Benefield now up in front to take the green flag, and we will see how this one goes. Brandon Trost in 4th position on this restart, the farthest back he's been all race long.
And single file back at it. Green flag in the air, and it is going to be next time around as lap 105 of what's going to be a 210 lap event is in the works right now from Newton, Iowa, the American Heartland 185 tonight with the Rhodes DW12 IndyCar Series Season 1 on Checkered Flag Interactive. And Daniel Benefield will lead at the cross sticks right now. He's your leader at halfway point. Cam Stark still sits second. We got Michael Thompson, Brandon Trost, Miguel Martinez, Dennis Caris, Alice Stevens, and Laura Pond, but none of them really all over each other. 3rd, 4th, and 5th are quite close. They're about a car length in between them all, and looks like Brandon Trost making a good run to try to fight with Thompson for a top 3 spot, but so far so good off of this restart.
Cam Stark challenging for that lead. Daniel Benefield in that number 69 Martini entry doing the best he can, but Cam Stark with that draft now taking a look low, trying to get that front wing out of the back of that number 69, trying to get some more downforce to it, make that turn in, not get that aero push. He gets it there on exit, almost gets up into the outside wall. Michael Thompson there to number 13, closing in as well. That top 5, throw them under a blanket, you might as well. They're so close to each other here, within a half second of each other, up at the front right now. Intense racing, only 109 laps into this race. We've got 101 laps left to go.
Now that we are on the halfway point, we say that typically it's at this point in the race that the intensity is slowly going to start to build up and the excitement can ramp up as these laps wind down. Well, There's only 8 cars left, so these guys might be satisfied with just walking away with what they got. Brandon Truss talked about it. He's going to try to make a move on Michael Thompson. Does it finally in 1 and 2 on lap 111. He's going to be able to get that spot. And to the inside goes Miguel Martinez, the 17 car, fighting through adversity in this one. It had a rough few weeks on the road side of things, as I've stated. Spun around and was very fortunate, Steve, that he did not end up on the outside or the inside wall or got nailed by people coming flying by him. And he still sits a P4 car and could possibly win this race, depending on how this shakes out, because we know he's got a fast machine.
Cam Stark right now still trying to take away that lead from Daniel Benefield. He slips up the track a little bit there, and number 24 is going to look low. He's not going to be able to do it there. That Dallara just struggling on exit with that arrow push. He gets up by the wall. He's going to have to blip throttle again. Brandon Trost now closing in on that second position, and Cam Stark, he's going to have to look in his mirrors there, and he's going to have to focus on not trying to get past, and if he does, he's probably just going to have to let him by, because Brandon Trost, that number 66, he's been strong all season long here. He's going to get the arrow push there. Now Miguel Martinez will look in on him. Right now, Cam Stark has a little bit of breathing room in front and behind him. So our leader, Daniel Benefield, here out in charge. 115 laps, coming to 116 complete.
Martinez still all over the back of Brandon Trost. Can't quite get enough of a run to really try to make a move and get that slipstream and make that pass, but he's actually going to drop back a little bit of 1 and 2. That's going to allow him to build up that run using the draft and then possibly try to make some sort of a move a little bit late on this one. Can't really dive down in there at the last second on the corner entry. Well, I mean, you can. Not going to work out too well for you or the guy that you're trying to get around. So Miguel Martinez sits right now in second. What that I'm noticing right now for the top spot is on, even when we had, full field here on the lead lap of 15, 16 cars for the last couple of cycles and last few stints, is the fact that our leader has really been able to check out. Daniel Benefield has not shown statistically speed-wise that he is the fastest car tonight. He was able to go from P9 to 4th in the opening stages of this race. So we know he has speed, but was 8th fastest in practice, qualified 9. So the window, in theory, if you look at the stat sheet, is wide open for somebody to be able to fight for this. The 69's running a great race up front right now, but Cam Stark not letting them get away. Only about a quarter of a second back is that number 24 machine over Benefield. Now slowly starting to put some time on him. Up to 3/10 the Martini machine, trying to get away and at least be able to get far enough away from Cam Stark so that he doesn't have to look in that mirror every lap and is able to just run his own race and possibly log a few laps here in what could be quite a long green flag stint.
Right now, Michael Thompson's really fallen off of that lead pack just by about half a second there. He's trying to maintain, just struggling there in that 5th position. Looks to be a little bit off the pace. Might just be these guys up front just seem so fast here so far. Evan, I'm really impressed, although we don't have, over half the field is out of the race currently, and that just says something. Jamie Rushworth, one of the more notable ones. Randy Crosno started up on the front row. Carl Burks also towards the front, and then Alex Simpson out of the race. Andrew Woodhouse, all of those guys right there I just mentioned, big names here in the DW12, the Rose Series here. And right now, Daniel Benefield, probably the biggest underdog of the field all race long, currently out in front in that Martini entry, and that's incredible.
Now, I don't want to say that we've had safe winners or safe picks per se, but in reality, again, haven't really seen a crazy surprise winner, and the drivers that we've seen have been strong all year long have essentially won these races so far. Now you look back to the homestead of Miami Speedway, Brandon Traino won that race. Look at the championship standings. Brandon Traino is a top 3 car, so nobody outside of the top 3 in points has won yet this season. Daniel Benefield, the 69, wants to break that streak, and he's doing good right now, slowly inching away from Cam Stark. Trost at start is under attack still. Miguel Martinez trying to find a way to return to a podium position at the moment. Can't get the job done quite yet. Besides that battle for 3rd, nothing else really going on the racetrack for position.
You say that, Evan, and there's really not enough cars on the racetrack to really have too many. So this really changes everything up out here at Iowa Speedway for these drivers. Even if they were to wreck, you're still guaranteed pretty much a top 10. So these guys out here, for now, they're probably just going to ride, but I think once it comes down to the very last 20 laps or so, these guys are going to definitely turn up the heat, and the pressure and the battles are going to come back. I mean, these guys, as long as they stay relatively close, we've got at least one more pit stop here under green, if we stay green, that is. So everything up in the air right now at Iowa Speedway for these guys still running out here. And we'll just have to see how it plays out. But as you said, Brandon Tross now under fire still from Miguel Martinez. That number 17 went around earlier, hanging tough, though, in 4th position right now. And then Daniel Benefield starting to break away from Cam Stark up at the front. Over half a second of a gap there for our leader. So that's going to make things interesting because Daniel Benefield has not had a very eventful season. He's been one of the big underdogs. As we get a quick telephone call up in the booth, I better answer that one up there pretty quickly. That might just be one of those guys down on pit road calling for an audible and maybe seeing if they can get a backup car out here and get back up there. But as you said, all race long, no resets for these guys, so what you have is what you got to run with. And if you wreck it, well, that's pretty much that, just like it was here this weekend for the 24-hour war before the 24. You get your car beat up in that early in the race, just like I did. 6 hours in, we nosed it into the wall, and she overheated on us. So that's pretty much the same situation out here. Only 210 laps on the board, about an hour and a half projected race time, assuming you stay green. Probably 2 hours total time with those cautions we've had early on. So these guys, it's an endurance race all on its own.
And now we're down to 7 cars on the lead lap, and the endurance part of this is going to come into it when we have these really long green flag runs, is that trying to stay focused, very similar to like the road events that we've seen so far, is just hitting your marks. And at Iowa, a little bit easier to do so in theory when you're on your own, but Laura Bond has lost her lead lap status again, still working with some back end damage, wing damage on that number 32 car. Do expect her to lose a few laps, but shouldn't be in any sort of position to lose P8, because she'd have to lose 4 more additional laps to fall back to Rob Uglonix, who's 5 laps down in 9th position. Could happen if we do go green for what's going to be actually, as Daniel Benefield rounds at a quarter to 4, lap 136 in the works for him. So closing in on what's essentially going to be like 85 laps, 75 laps, somewhere in that range left in this race. And if we stay green all the way, again, haven't really had an opportunity to talk about some fuel strategy here. You can go roughly 77 to 78 laps, maybe 80 if you stretch it. But if it's just the way it right now, somebody may have to come down pit road. If not, all of these people on the lead lap come down pit road and have to get service. Dennis Garis now slow. The number 16 car is down, and he actually had a spin at a quarter number 4. No caution. 16 lost it. He didn't catch the fence, just got loose, and once again, another car falls victim to Calamity Corner. Did not get into the inside wall, split it out in the grass, but he does lose 2 laps now. That moves Laura Bond up to 7th, Garis back to 8th, and now only 6 guys left on the lead lap.
Definitely a big bummer there for Dennis. He was running very strong where he was out there in 6th position. So now he finds himself 1 lap down. Actually, I do believe he's 2 laps down. I mean, these Indy cars going around here in Bristol speeds in the NASCARs. I mean, you go around Bristol in 16, 17 seconds, even 15 seconds. And these guys out here, what a NASCAR does in about 20 seconds, these guys just completely obliterating that lap time.
And these guys run about 16.4, 16.7s in race trim. The lower lane in turn 1 is fairly bumpy. The high line may have an advantage there. And then turn 4, again, common, a tight, loose condition off of both of those corners. And we've seen that many times tonight, that we could essentially dub that location Calamity Quarter because of all the troubles that people have actually had down and through there throughout this race so far. And you know, now that we get the green flags going, and again, I talked about it in the opening stint, felt like 5 laps, or rather 5 minutes, but it was like 30, 35 laps for that opening stint. Things go by very quickly at this racetrack. Now that we got a green flag run going, and I said this could possibly go green all the way to the end, or very likely could be our longest green flag stretch of this race, is because of the fact that only 5 cars sit on the lead lap, because Ellis Stevens, he has lost his lead lap status after being passed by our leaders. Now only 4 cars left on the lead lap, so nobody really fighting with each other, just essentially trying to make it from lap 145 right now all the way through to 210 and just finish this race and not have any more trouble.
Right now, actually, Dennis Garis, even with that spin he had there, he passed Miguel Martinez. And Miguel Martinez having a little bit of trouble out there with the pace that his car is running at right now. So things pretty interesting right now. Brandon Trost having some troubles, and a lot of these guys just with these final 50 laps coming up pretty quickly. It's going to be interesting to see how things play out.
Yeah, Benefield looks good at the moment. Cam Stark is now 2.3 back. You got Martinez back to a podium. The closest battle would be that one theoretically for third with Martinez and Michael Thompson. However, Thompson has to get around a lap machine at the moment. He's going to put Ellis Stevens yet another lap down. Well, already one lap down, but he's going to finally cycle through and around Tim. That's still about 2 seconds. So, I mean, other than that, nothing on track. There are 3 cars that do have positions up in the air. They sit 2 laps down. Dennis Garis is 6th, Laura Bond 7th, and Brandon Trost at 8th. Those 3 machines are 2 laps down and still could be fighting here for these positions through the end of this race. Oh, Michael Thompson. Gotta be kidding. Turn number 4. Once again, the 13 machine, P4, and final car in the lead lap. At that time, Steve goes around, self-spin, nearly puts it in the fence, and now he's lost a lap, and he's bringing it down pit road. That's the 13 machine.
Yeah, we took a look at the replay there. That number 13 just got loose right off that corner. He slides up through the grass, taps that inside wall. Maybe a little dent for that left side side pod, but I mean, I guess it's better than a totaled car, and things definitely calamity corner for turn 4 this race.
When it rains, it pours, and it's easy to say that, all right, there's 4 of us, let's just drive in circles for, 75 laps, but still, you got to stay up on the wheel. You can't really just let the thing go around the corner because you got to keep it under control, especially out of 4, and, you almost just kind of get into a trance there and kind of forget about the fact that that back end may step out, and in sim racing, you can't feel the car underneath you, so you really have to be up on it, and you got to pay attention to your peripherals, and you can see what's happening with the back end of the car, and it just can be such a very simple lapse in concentration on a long green flag stretch like this that costs you. And Michael Thompson, who could have had a great race, and now contact, he's up on track, he's going to get turned around. Now into the outside wall is the 13. Brandon Trost got into him. Slow on the back straightaway is the Thompson entry.
And there he goes, around in 3. He's going to wing it down to the inside wall, and we'll pull up the replay.
Cam Stark. Second position, Cam Stark is around,
What?
Miguel Martinez is around, and Dennis Garis. What is it a full moon in Iowa, or what is happening? Caution's out.
I don't even know what just happened there. We'll take a look what happened to Cam Stark. Dennis Garis went around right in front of him, hard into the fence. What in the world? And then Miguel Martinez spins it out there. We have a lot of stuff to look at.
So a lap car just took out Cam Stark from P2. That's a nasty impact into the outside wall. Stark barrel rolled down. Martinez goes around for the second time tonight, and I don't know where he's got that golden horseshoe stored in that machine, but does not get hit by anything, continues to go on, and now can fight for this win. Michael Thompson again got into contact just moments before that with the Brandon Trost entry. He's now off the lead lap, and I mean, the woes continue. And it just seems like everything that can go wrong, and if somebody were to spin, they spin in just the exactly wrong place. And this race has just been unbelievable. Only 3 guys now going to be on the lead lap. Benefield will lead this race. Miguel Martinez now going to be back up to second, and the 17, who has spun twice this race, and one of those spins coming just about 30 seconds ago, can win this race still possibly.
I mean, we're still pulling up replays from that one. We're going to have to take a look at what happened to Brandon Trost when he got up into Michael Thompson there. Replay up on your screen. Hopefully we'll try and find it there. I mean, not even sure what happened to Michael when him and Brandon Trost got involved. That was definitely very interesting.
Almost at a point where I would be speechless to what you can sum this race up to be, because we still have when this restart gets back going about 50 laps in this. Now that last stint at 50 laps can go by extremely quickly. But still, are you even safe if you're on the lead lap now? Because there are still quite a few amount of people that are on track that are off the lead lap. I now see Garis, he's done. Michael Thompson is done. Uglinix is still out there on track. Looks like Cam Stark may be done. We may only finish this thing with like 5 cars left running.
I mean, you mentioned earlier turn 4 is Calamity Corner. And like you said, maybe a full moon here out at Iowa Speedway. I don't know. The past 3 cautions, Evan, each time we get a caution, we have like 2 or 3 different accidents out on track, and people saying out in the Twitch chats, well, have you ever? No, I have never seen anything quite like this here in the IndyCars.
And it's, again, we talk about closing rate. You can talk about the, the logistics of why it's happening, the closing rate, the fact that you can't really try to make a very fast evasive maneuver on a track like this. But at the end of the day, it's got to be a full moon or something. Although it is the middle of the afternoon with the broadcast, we are under the lights tonight from Newton, Iowa, in the American Heartland 185. And I mean, again, you can't really sum up what's happened in these races. And there's times where, there's so many things that can go wrong, and you'll be able to survive it. And in racing, and from experience, that there's some things you just can't avoid. I mean, half of these incidents have been so wicked that they haven't really given any warning that they were going to happen, and when they happen again so quickly, you planted in the fence. The guy in front of you is around to build the racetrack. You're going 170 miles an hour through the corner. You can't do anything about it, and it leads to exactly that. And you hate to see when lap cars have trouble. They've had trouble previously in the race, might have some damage. They have an incident on track. You hate it to see those leaders get involved, but it's just a part of racing. Some things are out of your control, and many of those looked like it was quite the similar situation. Now Ellis Stevens is going to be able to move up. How about that entry now, P3? But I think Miguel Martinez may be the card beat right now. How would that be of a story? Wrecking essentially twice, and somehow with his eyes closed and his hands off the wheel, not hitting anything either time, spinning through wrecked cars, and could win this race.
Yeah, Danica Patrick has not driven an IndyCar for a long time, and when she went to the NASCARs there, you saw quite a few videos, everyone highlighting it there. When she went into that hard inside wall at Daytona, she left those hands up off the wheel. Well, that's pretty much what the number 17 machine had to do 2 cautions now. Just taking your hands off the wheel, closing your eyes, and hoping for the best. I mean, he spun himself. Not sure if it was purpose or not, but if he wouldn't have spun going into that caution there off turn 4, he would have annihilated those guys.
And sometimes when it's not your night, it's not your night, and when it rains, it pours. Sometimes it could be your opportunity, and Martinez going to get another shot at it. Green flag in the air. Daniel Benefield leads us back across the start-finish line. 50 laps remain in the American Heartland 185 with the Rose DW12 IndyCar Series Season 1 on Checkered Flag Interactive after what has been a crazy turn of events after the first quarter distance of the race. After that, these last 100 laps have been an absolute melee, which leave us with only 3 cars on the lead lap, and Benefield got a great start. 7/10 to the good. Caught that 17 machine sleeping.
I mean, right now we've only got 3 cars actually on the lead lap. I'm looking at the stats right now. I mean, Ellis Stevens about half of a second off of the pace. Or actually, I take that back. He's about a full second off the pace of the leaders. So right now we've only got 2 cars actually running competitive speeds out here.
Stevens is slow, and this could be a huge break for the 11 entry again because of the fact you just said, not quite on par with our leaders, but has been able to stay, for the most part, out of trouble, been able to stay on the lead lap, fight through any adversity, and can walk away with top 3 and $15 as well for that podium position, which never hurt anybody. So the 11, things are looking pretty good for him, but I do believe that Martinez is faster than the Daniel Benefield machine. That Martini entry, though, that leads this race, that number 69, got going on that restart, was 7/10 to the good. Martinez now slowly reeling him in that number 17 Honda entry, and this could be a battle for the lead here not too long, less than half a second. And the 69, who felt like this was his race now, that he could have just stolen this one from these guys about 25 laps ago, now finds himself with a mirror full of the 17 car.
These next 45 laps are going to click by very fast, but also they're going to be extremely long. This is where you've got to keep that mindset. If you're the leader, he pulls down in front of Miguel Martinez. Martinez going low here, going into 1 and 2. It's a drag race down the front straightaway here. These Dolares diving it down into 1 and 2. Maybe looking for the crossover. Daniel Benefield now on the inside of Miguel Martinez. Martinez giving him plenty of room with shades of what happened earlier. And another crossover coming off the corner. Big time block. That was going to be very risky here. 43 laps remaining. These guys battling it out. It's like it's the last lap. Here comes another crossover from Martinez down on the inside. He's going to have plenty of room for that number 69. Daniel Benefield up by the wall. Going to dive it low with the block there. Martinez going to keep that number 69 up by the wall, Evan.
And to the lead goes to 17, and that could be all she wrote. Can Daniel Benefield fight back? An aggressive move to the inside in quarter number 3, forcing his way through. Gets the spot back at a quarter number 4. Now the crossover once again, and the 17 back on the attack. Now Martinez gets it in 1 and 2. 69 coming back after it. To the outside goes Benefield. Going to try to wind this one up here at a quarter number 3, goes into 4. The 17 is now established and is able to maintain that lead lap position and that top spot for about a lap now, and he may be too hard to catch now, Steve. We'll have to see. The 69's fighting back, but Martinez, just so strong, was able to get back by the Benefield machine without really any challenge. Bad fast is that 17 entry. You see 69 going to go to the bottom once again. He'll have the inside position. 17 going to give it to him, but once Miguel Martinez is able to get back to the throttle, is able to make quick work of the 69, they could very well trade out this top spot for these next 40 laps.
And this is going to be interesting. Martinez down on the inside, the Martini entry there, side by side through 1 and 2. Now the 69 going to try to cross over here on the back straightaway. He's going to stay up on the high side. And Martinez down on the low side here. Entry into 3 and 4. Very awkward for that number 17. He's going to maintain that front spot. Here, 37 laps remaining. Absolute chaos here coming up on that lap down car of Ellis Stevens, or about to be. He's going to be a little bit of a roadblock there. Martinez dives around underneath of him. Now Daniel Benefield trying to close in. He gets a little bit tight there off of exit of the corner. He's going to drop back about 3 car lengths going into 3 and 4, or 1 and 2 that would be. And this could be the big moment now for our leader, Miguel Martinez.
Yeah, I know that 17 was faster, and he caught that Martini number 69 entry of Daniel Benefield so quickly, really ran down that 7/10 of a second gap in just a handful of laps, and is able to get back to the top spot. I think the only reason we're seeing the 69 hang with him here is because of that wicked draft and the huge hole in the air that these cars punch. But you see, he can't stay on the throttle all the way through 4. He's got to keep checking up, Don't think that car's strong enough, and Martinez really now starting to pull away 0.3 of a second. May run away with this one as we close in the next time around, actually in about 3 laps or so. Going to be 30 laps left in this race. Not a lot of time for Benefield to mount a charge, and it looks like Martinez starting to get away from him now.
An update here on Brandon Trost, the number 66, 2 laps down. The only other car running competitive lap times out here. He is 2 laps down after troubles early on coming down pit road. So he's found himself in a very tough position. He's going to probably finish there in 4th, but we look back up to the lead. Now Daniel Benefield still trying to close in. These guys coming up on Laura Bond. She's going to stay high in that number 32. We'll see here if that number 69 can pull up, maybe get that draft, and he's got to make something happen. The only way he's going to be able to get this win is if he continues battling, making those crossovers happen, keeping that number 17 slower than him there in that number 69. So that Martini car out here getting very high up off of that corner, up by the wall. That save for barrier not going to be a safe place at all if you find yourself into it, but he's going to have that draft down on the back straightaway, looking for it here in 3 and 4. He's not going to quite get to that rear wing, and he keeps getting high off that corner, just inches from that outside wall.
And surprised that he's able to hang on. I mean, he's probably given everything that he's got to that number 69 entry right now, and he's been able to close it back in. You see, turn forward though, the Achilles heel once again going to cost some time to that number 69 entry of Benefield, who right now things are looking good from where he started. I mean, he started this race P9, sitting P2 right now and getting set to walk away with at least $20. You don't want to force it too hard and put yourself at a fence and drop back to 7. So although you really want that win, and we saw the that these guys, neither of them are afraid to make an aggressive move back for the top spot there. You got to be smart about this as well, but it is the number 69 Chevrolet Martini entry versus the number 17 Honda entry of our race leader Miguel Martinez. So a little bit of a manufacturer battle, quote unquote, here going on, although they are the same chassis in iRacing, just driver preference in that one. But I'm surprised that he was able to get back in. I was almost certain that Martinez had set sail.
Oh!
Turn 4 again, he'll get the fence. It's getting his Achilles heel these last 5 laps. He just can't get the speed he needs out of 4.
Although that number 69, Daniel Benefield, he didn't hit that wall very hard, so I think he'll be okay, but what that really does is that backs him up. You saw him there, we were on board for about 5 laps. He was really starting to catch our leader, Miguel Martinez, there, and now he's going to fall back up by about half of a second. We'll have to see if he can gain it back up. And it's just one of those things where this is an intense battle here, these next 23 laps. Again, going to be incredibly quick, but incredibly long for these two drivers. And this could be that moment where Miguel Martinez starts to pull away.
Yeah, and it was that mistake, the overdrive of Benefield. Once he got close, again, these cars are on the ragged edge as much as they are, even when you're not in traffic. When you're closing in on a guy like Martinez, you're lifting through the corner a little bit. It's very easy, and this applies to Road as well. We've talked about it a few times, Steve, is the fact that you want to give it a little bit more. You try to give the car a little bit more. You see him there, you try to capitalize, but you're so much on that line, so much on the border of what you can and cannot do with these machines that once Benefield got close, gave it a little bit extra, gave it too much when it's all said and done, and now that he finds himself 1 second back, it is Miguel Martinez's race to lose. This, of course, a body that we don't have a yellow in what's going to be 20 laps to go the last time and 19 to go this time around.
And now Daniel Benefield, that number 69, really starting to fall off the pace, now about 0.2 of a second off each and every time they go by here. Miguel Martinez pulling away in 3 and 4, leading 21 laps here. Daniel Benefield, though, leading the most laps out of everybody. So if he does not improve that position, if he cannot make his way back up to the leader, very impressive night here, or I guess afternoon, for the number 69, Daniel Benefield, in that Martini entry after a very tough couple of weeks there. Miguel Martinez, absolutely incredible comeback after being involved in almost 3 different incidents here, going around twice in that number 17. So regardless of how this shapes out for these two guys up at the front, we'll race. Brandon Trost now moving his way back up into third, 2 laps down. Pretty much no chance for him to get back up on the lead lap. So unfortunately for him, he's stuck where he is. Ellis Stevens now on pit road. He's going to drop now. Laura Bond in that number 32 machine. She will get 1 lap up on Ellis Stevens and move up into that 4th position. But back up the front, 2 seconds separating our leaders.
Yeah, it was the mistake that's going to cost him, and that is pretty much the nail in the coffin for Benefield. Again, this abiding by that we stay green. Even if we do go back green, I still feel like that 17 has an upper hand, and it is going to be a feel-good win for Miguel Martinez, who spins twice in this race and luckily avoids everything that he could have hit in those scenarios to be able to come back and win this. But still can't forget about what the 69 car did here tonight as we close it on 10 laps to go. Was essentially a 9th place car, and you saw it consistently across the board. 8th in practice, 9th on the grid, still fast, was able to get up front using strategy early in the race. That was his call, and that's what put him in the scenario to be able to be up in front out of the incidents. So he still deserved this P2, and very strong is now him and Martinez, the only cars on the lead lap.
I mean, as this race winds down, there's pretty much only so much that can change out here in the running order, but this has been a very, very interesting race. Evan, we have not seen anything like this last week at Sebring. I talked about it for a little while there and at Sebring, and I said Iowa was going to be a brutal race. Some of these drivers kind of disagreed with me. Well, I think I was right, and they were a little bit wrong.
Yeah, the boring tonight, we'll call it, was it took quite a toll on a lot of these drivers. And a lot of the incidents, I'm going to blame it on the full moon tonight in Newton, Iowa, but it was an exciting race. And now with 9 laps to go this next time around for Martinez, still set and sail you got to feel good. This is going to be huge for him to points. There's also people that entered tonight at the top of the points are big names. Guys like Alex Simpson, Jamie Rushworth, who had opportunities tonight to pull away and extend their points gaps over the rest of the standings. People unable to do so. There were then drivers that sit top 5 in points, but not at the very top, that had an opportunity to capitalize. They get caught up in incidents as well. And now we find guys like Martinez, Benefield, even Brandon Trost, Laura Bond, Ellis Stevens are at the top 5 that are going to benefit hugely from these top 5 positions. Going to get a lot of points and en route to possibly what they hope could be a top 5, top 10 points run when the season's all said and done, as we pass the quarter distance in this season after tonight's race from the Iowa Speedway. But not only that, walking away with some cash payouts as well for these top 5, which some of them haven't been able to have this season.
And then next week we go back here, and it's going to be an exciting race for sure. Not at Iowa Speedway, of course, but we will be racing at Barber Raceway for 65 laps. That's in 1 week's time. And then later that afternoon here live on Checkered Flag Interactive, we've got the I Got Balls 250 at the 2007 Circuit Daytona. So it's very exciting next Sunday here on Checkered Flag Interactive. But this race, all pretty much said and done. When it comes down to the running order, very incredible racing. We've seen some very interesting things. I've never seen anything quite like it, actually, in the DW12. We've seen rough NASCAR races. We've seen rough road races for some GT3s, but we have not seen Indy cars get so beat up.
And they're fast, and if you read through the specs and all the carbon fiber and everything that makes this car what it is, they sound badass, but they are not kind to damage. It has now 2 laps to go for our race leader, Miguel Martinez. It's been a race of attrition, not only for him, but for a lot of drivers. Daniel Benefield still pointed the right direction. That Martini entry going to be on track for a P2. Trost, Bond, and Stevens are going to be the top 5. Still 3 cars battling for what's going to be 4 through 6, 5 laps down as the white flag is in the air, but none of them are really close enough to each other to put up an immediate challenge. And for the final time in 3 and 4 and round 5 from the Iowa Speedway, the American Heartland 185 checkered flag, give it to the 17. Miguel Martinez wins.
Daniel Benefield coming away in second. Brandon Trost will finish third. Laura Bond, what an incredible comeback day for her, finishing fourth. Ellis Stevens will finish up fifth. Then Rob coming up in sixth after being penalized earlier. The back of that wing says no bueno. Well, it was a decent bueno night for him.
And no objections on his end. He'll take it. And in a night that officially, I think it's going to be about 6 cars were left on track out of the 21 that started. Only a quarter of the people survived this one. And congratulations ring in for our race leader, Miguel Martinez. Alex Simpson, who has not left the podium all year long, congratulates the podium runners of Martinez, Benefield, and Trost. And a lot of drivers are going to be happy to get out of the Iowa Speedway and move into this second quarter of the Season 1 campaign when we go to the Barber Motorsports Park in 1 week's time. But Miguel Martinez, he burns it down on the front straightaway, and he had to work for this one, and maybe something was on his side to help him get through it, because he got lucky on some of those spins, but he drove his way to the front. He made the aggressive moves on Benefield, and he was able to counter the counters from Benefield to be able to maintain to that top spot, ran the race, and puts that Honda in victory lane tonight.
Pulling up the night for some of the drivers, we will pull up some of the replays here after an incredible night of racing. You just got to take a look at this one, particularly up on the screen, where these guys just got hard in the wall there, taking a look at what happened for the number 55, Tony Helmanen. We'll pull up another replay there. This was back on lap number 90, or 112, I do believe, or maybe 98, actually, yeah, 98. These guys were battling so hard mid-pack and diving it down into 3 and 4. We saw Ryan Littlemore overcorrect or something up into the outside wall. These guys went flipping hard on the front straightaway. I mean, it was a brutal night all the way around for some of these guys.
We knew that it was going to be a night of attrition, a night that you had to survive this race to get through, and we say that to kind of hype it up because it's Iowa. In reality, there is truth to that statement, but I don't think anybody could have predicted the outcome that we saw in this one, the adversity that a lot of these people had to fight through to be able to just finish this race. Only 6 of them made it through, and most of the people that were at the race were the top runners that may have been considered the favorites coming into this event, and were the top qualifiers as well.
And you were watching the CFI broadcast of the Rose DW12 IndyCar Series race number 5 here at Iowa Speedway. We are going to pull up some guys up into the booth and see if we can't get some post-race interviews here. And then up on your screen, we'll leave the highlight there. Pretty much that last little bit of racing between Miguel Martinez and Daniel Benefield when they came up with that hard racing halfway through this run. And that is pretty much what demonstrated what was going to be the rest of the race. So we're going to head off really quick here and see who we can get up in the booth or catch up to on pit lane. Do not go away. Post-race coverage coming up. Welcome back live on Checkered Flag Interactive. We've caught up with our third place finisher here, Brandon Trost.
We're down on pit road, and Brandon Trost is going to come home at a number 66 machine in a P3 finish. It's exactly where he started tonight, on the inside of that row number 2, and in a race that we hyped it up to be the bull ring, a race that was going to be exciting, that you had to survive through. Literally fitting an exact definition of such, because only about 6 drivers finished this one, Brandon. You finished right where you started, albeit 2 laps down, but still had to survive this race to get through it. What was it like out there through these 210 laps from behind the wheel?
It was a mess. What ended up happening was the aero push was, the IndyCar itself, this new one, the aero push is horrible. So what ended up happening was whoever was the leader, it didn't matter if they were faster or not, was going to keep the lead. And then if you were in second, you were stuck behind them. The guy in third was behind you, and so on. The only guy that had an exception to that was Miguel, who was able to get within a tenth, but he even struggled to pass.
And it was a race that saw a lot of people get taken out, a lot of big names. And this opened up the opportunity for a lot of drivers to be able to capitalize, make up points that they may have lost in these first few races. And out of the Iowa Speedway now, a quarter of the way through this season, how would you assess what you and the team have done so far and what you want to be able to accomplish in these next 3 quarters?
I haven't liked how I've been doing. I really didn't deserve a third place today. Probably should have been about 15th if everyone wasn't wrecking everywhere. In Homestead, I screwed that up pretty bad too, so I got to do a little bit better here.
Well, you're able to walk away with the $15 and a podium tonight. Before we let you go, Brandon, sponsors and shout-outs, everybody who makes this possible.
Well, I got to give a shout-out to Matt Lambertson because he was the guy who originally made the setup that I baselined off of.
And because of that, you're able to come home. It's going to be a podium. Thanks for talking with us, Brandon. Congratulations on a hard-fought and a surviving night for you, per se. The 66 comes home in third. Good luck rolling forward in these next races in the year. About 14 to go.
Thank you.
That was our third place finisher, and now down in victory lane with the driver of the 17, Steve Bonesteel. You're caught up with Miguel Martinez.
Well, congratulations on the win there, Miguel. You fought very hard. Here we've got those highlights up on the screen. Take us through those 4 to 5, 6 laps where you and Daniel were battling so hard, making lefts and rights and crossovers all over on each other. Just take us through what that was like.
Yeah, that was a great race at the end. The battle with Daniel was the best of all, but because I'm really disappointed because the people were very aggressive all race long. But well, the end of the race was really a pleasure for me. I'm sorry about Daniel because he hit the wall a little bit and let me win with many challenge. But really happy because I need to win after these 4 or 5 awful races that I have a lot of mistakes.
Explain how your season has been so far in the inaugural season here for the DW12 series with the Rose guys. What's it been like to go out here and have such an exciting race week in and week out?
Well, the Rose series, I really like this series because I was expecting for a challenge and join the road side of the DW12. But I'm a totally rookie in the road side, so I was expecting for the making the top 5 in the oval races and finish the road races. But I did a lot of stupid mistakes in the past races, so I think it's a really way to approximate to the series.
And also going back to the road courses next week, what's your outlook going into the race at Barber?
Well, I ran one time in Barber with the old car, and I like this track, but it's very difficult to pass. I really hope to practice all the week, makes me almost make a top 10 or finish the race.
Good stuff. Really quick before we head off here on Checkered Flag Interactive, you see that highlight, Daniel Benefield getting up onto the outside wall there. Then you started pulling away, but before we head off, sponsors, friends, family, teams, who do you have to thank for getting this win here? Alright, we lost Miguel there. He dropped up out of the server. So, with that happening, again, congratulations to Miguel there in that number 17, DW12. Very hard racing at the end, so congratulations to him. He did a beautiful job there at the end, getting up in the front and battling it out with Daniel Benefield. So he couldn't be happier, and you can really tell when he looks into this. He knows that his season has been a little bit bumpy here, just like the race surface at Iowa, but he's got a pretty good outlook going into Barber next week, Evan, and what do you have to think?
Well, I know that a lot of these guys are going to be happy to get out of Newton, Iowa this afternoon, get back on the trailer, and head out to Barber Motorsports Park, back to the road side of things, where, again, we saw 2 back-to-back road events, and after Barber, going to have to go back-to-back on the oval side of things. Going to be at Pocono, going to be at Milwaukee. So for the road guys like an Alex Simpson, who by all means has not been weak on the ovals, but just got caught up in something tonight. Other than that, top 5 at Homestead, still be strong. But the road guys really need to get everything they can out of Barber, because we're going to go into one of 3 times where we're going to go back-to-back on the oval side of things this season. Only one more time we go back-to-back for road. So things are kind of stacked for the oval guys here from here on out. So Barber, you really need to capitalize on.
Well, with that being said, Evan, things here at Checkered Flag Interactive are all said and done at Iowa Speedway. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you next week.